a very warm welcome to Political Economy with Shweta Punj. Well, India and UK have signed what is being hailed as a historic free trade agreement. This trade agreement had been in the works for several years. It had been stuck for various reasons, but finally, India and the UK have come together and they've created an open trade market between these two giants. Well, yesterday, the Prime Minister of UK, Mrs. Starmer, in fact, even said that this is the most historical trade deal since the EU Brexit for the UK. Now, what does this trade agreement do? This trade agreement increases UK's exports to India. The estimate is by nearly 60% from scotch to automobiles, British cars, they could get cheaper, and Indian exporters get access to the UK market. For a lot of products going in from the Indian market to UK, the tariffs have come down to nearly zero, which is a huge win. Well, and on the other hand, UK manufactured soft drinks, cosmetics, chocolates, automobiles, like I said, medical devices will become cheaper for Indians. Well, tariffs on UK products are down now to 3% from 15%. And like I said, with Indian goods, the tariffs are almost down to 0% across a lot of categories. Now, what does this really imply for India? For India's trade potential, for India's trade ambition, and also does this set the template for India as it negotiates another trade agreement with the EU, and it is in the process of negotiating a trade agreement with the United States. Again, a negotiation that has been going on for a very long time. Well, to understand this in greater detail, I have with me Mr. Ajay Shrivastava, founder of Global Trade Research Initiative. Thank you very much, Mr. Shrivastava. Just to give your viewers a sense of who Mr. Shrivastava is, he's been an Indian trade officer. He has experience in trade policy and with WTO. So when we were thinking about who could be the person who can really break this FTA down for us, we thought, Mr. Shrivastava could really help our viewers understand what this trade agreement means. Why is it being termed as a historic trade agreement? What does it really signify for India? Mr. Shrivastava, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking up the time and speaking with us. So are you also, as happy as we see our leaders, in the photographs that have come out from the signing of the trade agreement? Are you also beaming?
Thanks, Shweta, for inviting me. So I am happy in a way that we started a task in 2022 for doing this FTA with UK, and we announced the completion of negotiation in May. Now, yesterday we achieved another milestone by signing it. Now we need to implement it. And since the agreement has not been approved so far by the British Parliament, and we are hearing that they take long time, maybe 1 year. So we have to wait for that long time to get it implemented. Only when it gets implemented, then real export and import will start taking place using the agreement. So it's a milestone. I'm happy that we have achieved a significant milestone.
Right. So, Mr. Shrivastava, now, we were talking just a little while ago, and you were explaining to me that how India has always had trade agreements with the Eastern Bloc. And this is the first trade agreement of this kind with a Western country. What does that imply for us? What does that imply for our exporters now?
So, Shweta, we begin our FTA journey long back. Initially, we did FTA with our neighboring countries. We call them SAARC countries: Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. And then we moved to Eastern Bloc countries, for example, ASEAN, Japan, Korea, and then we did with Australia three years back. So we completed agreements with almost all significant Eastern Bloc countries except China. And everybody else who counted is complete. We have an FTA, running FTA for more than 15 years now. We completed these in 2010-11. And now natural recourse was once you have won the East, you move to the West. So we moved westwards. We completed our agreement. UAE is not exactly Western country, but we completed UAE. But then we come with Switzerland and Norway. EFTA countries, the four countries
Yes.
of, which are outside the EU but part of Europe. We competed with them. They are the first truly Western bloc countries with which we did an agreement in 2022. UK
Hmm.
is the next one. EU is, I'm being told that is at the final stages. We'll be doing that, and US can happen any moment of time. So we completed Eastern journey first, then we turned towards West, and then
Hmm.
UK is an important FTA in our westward journey.
Hmm. Okay, so what does it mean, Mr. Shrivastava, in terms of a trade agreement with a Western country? What are the rules that we'll have to live with? What are the rules that we'll have to comply with when it comes to trading an open market and at such a big market like the UK for Indian exporters?
So there is a fundamental difference between the earlier FTAs we did with the Eastern Bloc countries,
Hmm.
for example, ASEAN, Japan, and Korea. They were the FTAs focused on getting market access. Market access means getting more orders for our goods exporters, for our services exporters, or for investment purposes. So they were
Hmm.
trade centric, basically. Western FTAs, they include all of this, but they include many non-core subjects, subjects which are not directly related to trade. For example, Western countries, they push us to deal with, say, environmental issues, labor issues, gender issues, then digital trade, pharmaceutical, I mean, intellectual property rights. So many such subjects are there, which generally, when we did FTA with ASEAN, Japan, or Korea, we never dealt with these subjects. We thought these are non-core subjects. But when you are doing FTA with Western bloc countries, these are essential subjects. And the reason for this is very simple. Most of the Western bloc countries, they have very low tariffs, except on agriculture items or the labor-intensive goods. So all other goods, their tariffs are very low. So
Okay.
they want the partner countries, mostly the developing countries like India, to harmonize their regulations with the Western regulations, and that's why we have to negotiate all these things.
So then now, as in, environment, gender, labor, how will that pan out for our MSME sector, Mr. Shrivastava? Are we ready for this?
We have to see this. We are new. We barely started the experiment. For example, this is gender. We UK is the first agreement in which we negotiated gender. We never negotiated gender. And these things, if you look from a very idealistic perspective, you say gender great. If it's gender, that means it's talking about weaker gender, means poor women, it will be great something. No, it's not always that. They are very focused countries, Western Bloc countries. Everything is linked to obtaining more market access.
Hmm.
So initially, we may be talking about that we'll be promoting gender-specific sectors, for example, fisheries and textiles, where women participation is predominant, or
Hmm.
we'll be doing some surveys. How much is the labor force participation, women's participation in labor force? These things, they look innocuous, but gradually, ultimately, after 20 years, when we sign 3 4 more agreements, these are all invariably linked to market access. We have this experience with the WTO. I'll give you one example. For example,
Hmm.
labor. Labor is another subject. Now, India has been arguing at the WTO for the past 10 years at least that these subjects, they are not core trade subjects. They are indirectly linked to the
Hmm.
trade. So there is an organization for dealing with this. For example, for labor, there is International Labor Organization. So why
Yeah.
this into FTA or the WTO? There is a apex organization. So I'll tell you what type of things are being negotiated in labor. So
Hmm.
I'll refer to one agreement between, say, US, Canada, and Mexico, USMCA. It's
Hmm.
very celebrated FTA, has underwent renegotiation many times. So it has one clause. It says that if for the cars made in Mexico,
Hmm.
if they qualify for FTA benefits while entering US, then the mechanic which is assembling the cars,
Hmm.
his hourly wages should not be lower than $16.
Oh.
And the average wages in Mexico, they are just $8. which
Hmm.
means any car being assembled in Mexico will not qualify for the FTA benefits while entering the US. So on the face of it, you see US has allowed entry of cars at zero tariff from Mexico, but
Right.
subject to meeting this clause. So there are hundreds of such clauses which are hidden
Hmm.
in environment, sustainability,
Hmm.
labor, gender, all this. So we need to be very careful.
Hmm. Interesting. So we'll of course read. We'll have to read the fine print on this one. That
Of course.
what are the rules coming in? So, Mr. Shrivastava, what are the sectors that you see that could enormously benefit from this, or is this could this be like a double-edged, opportunity and a moment of reckoning for sectors such as textiles, footwear, leather? Because on the face of it, it looks like they're going to benefit enormously from this, but then if such if such caveats are added, if such details or fine print is there in the contract, in the agreement, then this could really either it could make our sector bigger or it could break completely. It could be a make or break moment for India's export oriented sectors.
So the break is not possible even if export do not increase. Break sector is very strong. So
Okay.
let's talk about this textiles and apparel sector only
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
make a point. So textile and apparel tariffs in UK, they are high from their standards. They range between 4 to 16% most of the textile and apparel products,
Hmm.
and they have committed to make them zero. So this sector, ideally, the export should increase because tariffs have come down. That's point
Hmm.
number one. But as we discussed in the very beginning, that it's a developed market where per capita income is more than $50,000. So they will be going for highest end textiles and apparels. So anyone who can supply the highest end textiles and apparel from India, we will stand to gain from this duty reduction.
Hmm.
Not everybody. So when we talk about
Hmm.
MSME, unless they invest in the highest end quality, I
Hmm.
don't think it will stand any chance there. So the chance is there, but only for the super high end makers of these things.
Who meet the
So
quality
I'll give you
benchmarks.
one example. When we were negotiating this FTA with Japan in 2008-9, it was signed in 2011.
Yeah.
So I was part of the negotiating team. And then our industry approached the government and they said, Japan, like UK, is a developed country. They have labor costs very high. They can't make their reference. So let's request them to make tariffs on April 0 from day one of the agreement. And we can supply more of the apparels to them. And the tariffs on apparels were more than 10% Japan. So we all could see the logic that we should. So we negotiated with Japan, and they fortunately agreed to make the tariff zero from day one.
Hmm.
So the agreement was signed. The tariffs on apparel were zero from day one by Japan.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this happened in 2011. Between 2000 and 2025 today, in the past 15 years, the exports have not risen beyond a certain point. They are rising at an average or even lower than the average. Why? As I say, we have to recognize that
Hmm.
tariffs alone are not the factor. If my per capita income is $50,000, I don't care for 2, 3, 4, 5% tariff reductions. I need what I need. If you can
That's
supply that, then
hmm.
your market is yours. So there is a caveat.
Hmm.
But
That's
but
interesting.
I must repeat it. We are talking about the FTA. So FTA creates a positive
Hmm.
opportunity for all labor sectors, including textiles, leather, apparels, and all others.
Hmm. Okay. How do you see this as a template for the trade agreements that India is negotiating with the EU and the US? Could this be a model? Because here, even in the trade agreement with UK, we did not open up our dairy sector, which was one of the points that was discussed. So, do we see the same template playing out? Is that what you're expecting?
So we are hearing that our deal with US is almost ready. It's stuck because India has told US that our red lines are most of the agriculture products and dairy. So dairy and agriculture we want to protect. And if we are telling this to US, we must have told this to Europe also. So that
Hmm.
means this production of agriculture and dairy will continue on in our future FTAs. But at the
Hmm.
same time, on the negative side, we opened automobile for the first time in the FTA with UK. In none of
Hmm.
our FTAs with the ASEAN, Japan, Korea, we opened automobile sector. So
Wow.
that now EU will be demanding similar access. US will be demanding for similar access. And
Hmm.
once we give access to, say, Europe or we have given to UK, now our real suppliers like Japan and South Korea, they will come to us and they'll say, we invested billions in your country, in making in your country. So why not give to us? So our auto sector, we have all these things to face in coming months.
So the auto sector, but one would think that the auto sector now is geared up for external competition because the sector has been protected for quite some time.
Shweta, understand this. We are talking about a free trade agreement. If I suppose you and I are negotiating, if I get $100 from you, I'll give you only $100. I'll not give you $120. Why should I give? It's not a charity business. We are doing business here. Okay.
Hmm.
So if I should get something in return, I don't see I'm getting anything in return for opening this. And understand,
Hmm.
auto sector, we didn't have an auto sector before 80s. We have only ambassadors and Fiat. And then
Hmm.
our auto sector is transformed now. It's because on the crutches of high duty. So high duties are not bad all the times. And we are not getting anything back from the UK in opening this sector. And understand this. Right
Okay.
now, everybody is turning protectionist. US is turning protectionist. EU is turning protectionist.
Hmm.
So why open a sector when we are not getting reciprocal benefit?
So you think we've not gotten reciprocal benefits, at least
And
with the
yeah,
yeah.
if we talk about competitiveness, of course, if I feel auto sector needs a dose of competitiveness, dose of opening, I should lower my MFN tariff. I should lower my tariff for everyone, not for one country.
Hmm. Interesting. So this could put pressure on India to lower, to open up its auto market to other countries as well. So
Yeah.
tough negotiations ahead for
Yes,
India.
yes,
Right.
yes.
Right. Mr. Shrivastava, okay, when it comes to the trade agreement with the United States, and one of the things that we spoke about was that while it's almost ready, India is not willing to open up its agri and dairy sectors, but it could be pushed into a corner now into opening its auto sector. And so, in return, what do you think should India be asking for, and what should we have asked from the UK for opening up our auto sector?
No, it's a not auto sector specific deal. It's a deal on all products.
Yeah.
So UK says that we are making tariff zero on almost all of your products except rice and sugar and some meat items. They are making tariff zero on everything. In return, India is eliminating tariffs on say 90% of the imports from the US.
Hmm.
And so balance has to be seen within the merchandise trade, within the services trade, across merchandise and services and government procurement trade, and then we need to evaluate across the sectors what we gained and lost.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Okay. So now, Mr. Srivastav, in terms of competitive advantage, does this give Indian exporters a competitive advantage, say, against Bangladesh or Vietnam in the sectors that that they are strong in, and we are competing with them, say textiles, for example?
Of course, zero tariffs will bring India at par with Vietnam and Bangladesh. And
Hmm.
this was one of the grounds of Indian exporters that why don't India negotiate a deal with, say, Europe or UK?
Hmm.
Because Bangladesh and Vietnam, they get zero tariff access in those markets, and we are
Hmm.
not able to compete freely because of high
Hmm.
tariffs. Now,
Hmm.
tariffs will be zero for UK and hopefully soon for EU, and this growth will go. And then we have to see how much Indian exporters perform. The last point will be equality only.
Yeah. So the reason why Indian exporters lost out to Bangladesh and Vietnam is primarily quality, ease of doing business, and so on. So now the next stage of reforms will begin, is what I'm thinking.
I think if they begin, that will be a real complementarity and subsequent
Hmm.
steps post FTA. Right now, I was hiding behind the fig leaf of tariff. But if
Hmm.
tariffs are gone, like for Japan, tariffs are gone, but exports are not increased for Aprils.
Hmm.
Now they are not talking about Japanese market. So we have to understand that it's a complex game involving not only tariffs but quality, scale, R&D, innovation, everything. You have to
Yeah.
focus on those things. And I love this when you say we need a new spate of reforms on these things. We
Hmm.
must do that.
So this could be the trigger. This could be the trigger. We'll need the reforms to ride this wave.
Yeah, I will be very happy for the country if this happens.
Well, I hope so too. I'm also optimistic, Mr. Shrivastava. Thank you so much for breaking down this very significant trade agreement for us. And just to summarize what Mr. Shrivastava has said for our viewers, is that while the trade agreement is a huge positive, but the real work begins now, and that real work will entail significant reforms and for Indian exporters to really step up, because this is the first trade agreement with a big Western country that we have done. They have very specific rules. We are yet to read the fine print, but there could be rules and regulations around minimum wages, gender representation, your carbon footprint, and so on, which Indian exporters will have to work with and adhere to and stay competitive. And another very significant point is that these are countries with high per capita income. So cost advantage is not the only thing that could that could work to our advantage. We'll have to really up our quality, the quality that we are offering to the Western world, because as Mr. Shrivastava pointed out, that there will be a different set of rules now that India will have to play with. Thank you so much, Mr. Shrivastava. Any closing comments from you? Any closing remarks?
We have many deals lined up with the US, European Union, and Oman, and probably Peru. So let's hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And a big thank you to all our viewers for tuning in. Do leave us your comments in the comment section below. And of course, we'll be back with another episode of Political Economy with Shweta Punj, dissecting an important policy that's shaping India. Thanks so much for watching.